All right, so we're diving into Berlinale 2025 today.
Berlinale, yeah.
That's the Berlin International Film Festival, for anyone who doesn't know.
One of the big ones.
Yeah, one of the biggest for sure.
Yeah.
So, I've got a stack of articles, reviews, even some gossip columns here about this year's festival.
Sounds like fun.
It is going to be fun. So, what really struck me was just how much buzz there was, not just about the films themselves, but the whole atmosphere, you know?
The Berlinale vibe.
Exactly. It felt like this year was particularly charged, like a real snapshot of what's going on in the world right now.
Interesting. So where should we begin?
Well, we've got to start with the big one, right?
Golden Bear.
Golden Bear. It went to this Norwegian director, Dag Johan Haugerud, for his film Dreams, Sex, Love.
Interesting choice.
Yeah. It's definitely not your typical crowd pleaser, is it?
Well, it's very much a character-driven piece.
Yeah.
Very introspective, very literary.
Yeah, I read that he actually encouraged the young star, Ella Overby, to read classic novels to get into the right headspace.
Yeah. He's a big believer in the power of the written word. It's refreshing, actually, in this age of, instant everything.
I know, right? It's like he's making a statement, slow down, think, feel.
Exactly. And the jury obviously responded to that. I mean, you've got Todd Haynes on there, Amy Nicholson. These are people who really appreciate film as an art form.
Yeah, makes you wonder if this signals a shift, Are we moving away from the big, flashy blockbusters?
Maybe. I mean, there's always going to be an audience for those, but perhaps there's a growing appetite for something, well, deeper.
Something that makes you think.
Precisely.
Okay, so we've talked Golden Bear, but there was another film that really got people talking. The Blue Trail from Brazil.
Ah, yes. The dystopian one.
Yeah. Pretty intense premise, right?
Yeah.
Anyone over 77 gets shipped off to this colony.
It's a tough watch. It really forces you to confront some uncomfortable questions about aging, about how we value different generations in society.
And it's not just a hypothetical scenario, is it?
Right.
We're seeing these debates play out in the real world right now.
Absolutely. Resource allocation, healthcare, the ethics of longevity, it's all in there.
Okay, so we've got thought-provoking cinema covered, but we can't forget the drama that unfolded off-screen, right?
You mean Ivan Fun's acceptance speech?
Yeah, that was a moment.
Definitely made headline.
So he wins for his film The Message.
Which, by the way, is about a girl who can talk to animals.
Yeah, kind of a quirky premise.
Very much so.
But then in his speech, he just lays into President Miley about these cultural budget cuts.
Bold move.
You said it. It's like you could feel the tension in the room. Everyone was glued to their seats.
But you can't deny the power of that statement. Art under threat, speaking truth to power. It's a classic narrative.
And it definitely got people talking, put a spotlight on an issue that maybe wouldn't have gotten as much attention otherwise.
Exactly. Sometimes you need that jolt, that disruption, to make people pay attention.
And that's what Berlinale does so well, right? It's not just about the awards. It's about pushing boundaries, sparking debate.
It's a platform. And fund, definitely use it to its full potential.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We've got a lot more to unpack here.
Can't wait. Let's dive in. So, thinking about the Blue Trail again.
Yeah, that one really stuck with me.
It's the visuals,
Oh, yeah.
The director, Mariana Barros, she's got a really distinct style.
I mean, it's pretty bleak, right?
Weak but effective.
Yeah.
All those scenes in the colony,
Mm.
mostly grays and blues.
Yeah.
It's cold, it's detached. It really emphasizes that sense of isolation.
And the close-ups,
Okay.
too.
Nice.
Like you're right there with the characters, you can feel their despair.
Powerful stuff. It's a masterclass in how to use visuals to tell a story, to evoke an emotion.
Yeah, it's like every shot is deliberate, Nothing's accidental.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about the heavier stuff.
Right.
But Berlinale isn't all doom and gloom, is it?
Not at all.
There's some great performances, too.
First,
I have to admit, I was surprised by Rose Byrne winning Best Performance.
if I had legs, I'd kick you.
Yeah. I mean, it's a comedy, right? And with Conan O'Brien, of all people.
Unexpected pairing, for sure.
Did you see it?
I did. And honestly, I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Byrne's fantastic in it.
Really?
Really nuanced, really layered performance.
Wow.
And you know what? Well, Brian wasn't bad either.
No.
He actually holds his own in a more dramatic role.
Interesting.
It just goes to show you can't underestimate these comedic actors.
Maybe there's a whole other side to Conan we haven't seen yet.
Exactly. He's got range.
And speaking of range, what about Andrew Scott?
Ah, yes. Best supporting performance for Blue Moon.
as Richard Rodgers, the composer.
It's a completely different side to him,
Yeah.
you know? He's usually playing these intense kind of villainous roles.
Yeah, like Moriarty and Sherlock.
Exactly. So it's great to see him stretch himself like this.
And Berlinelli seems to be all about pushing boundaries this year, right? I mean, even with the festival itself.
Oh, yeah, with Trisha Tuttle at the helm.
Yeah, her first year as director.
And she made some big changes.
Like scrapping the experimental film section.
That was controversial.
Definitely raised some eyebrows.
But she also introduced a new category for debut directors.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's a real statement of intent, you know? Like,
Oh, yeah.
we're here to support new talent, fresh voices.
And she really seems to be focused on connecting with local audiences, too.
Yeah, making the festival more accessible to Berliners.
It's like she's breathing new life into Berlinale, but also staying true to its roots, you know?
Absolutely. It's a balancing act.
So we've talked about the big awards, the controversial films, the standout performances, the new direction under Trisha Tuttle.
It's been a whirlwind.
It has. But what I find fascinating about film festivals is how they reflect the mood of the times, you know?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like, are there any themes, any trends that you picked up on this year?
What? It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've talked about the Blue Trail with its dystopian vision of the future.
Mm.
And then there's The Message with its political undertones, art under threat.
Yeah.
Even Dream, Sex, Love. It's very much about the anxieties of modern life, you know?
Like relationships, isolation, finding your place in the world.
Exactly. It's almost like beneath the surface, there's this current of unease running through all these films.
Yeah, like a reflection of the world we're living in.
Precisely. The anxieties, the uncertainties, the big questions we're all grappling with.
It's not always pretty.
No, it's not.
Fun.
But it's honest, right?
And maybe that's what we need right now. A bit of honesty, a bit of reflection.
A chance to confront these uncomfortable truths.
Yeah. And maybe even find some solace in knowing that we're not alone in feeling these things.
I like that. Solace and shared experience.
And that's what film does so well, isn't it? It connects us. It makes us feel less alone.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff.
It really is.
Mm.
And Berlinale, you know, it provides that platform, that space for these conversations to happen.
Okay, so before we wrap up,
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious.
Was there one film that really resonated with you personally, something that just stayed with you? I always feel like those are the films that really stay with you, the ones that hit you on that personal level.
Definitely.
So which one was it for you?
You know, for me, it was Continental 25 by Radu Jude.
Oh, interesting. I didn't get a chance to catch that one.
The dark satire
Okay.
about bureaucracy, set in this kind of bleak, dystopian future.
I can see how that might fit the mood this year.
Yeah. It's a sharp critique of societal systems, how they can, you know, dehumanize individuals, trap them in this endless cycle of paperwork and procedures.
Sounds a bit Kafkaesque.
Very much so.
Oh.
But there's also this deeper layer to it.
Oh.
It's about this profound sense of loneliness, alienation.
Wow.
And Jude uses this black humor to really heighten that sense of despair.
So it's funny, but also unsettling.
Exactly. Like you're laughing, but you also feel this kind of creeping dread.
It's interesting, isn't it? We've talked about the Blue Trail, The Message, and now Continental 25. They all seem to be touching on this theme of isolation, disconnection in different ways.
Yeah, like a common thread running through them.
Maybe it's a sign of the times, you know? We're all so connected online, but increasingly isolated in our actual lives.
I think there's something to that. But maybe it's also just a universal human experience, you know?
This need for connection, this fear of being alone.
Exactly. And I think these films are tapping into that, which is why they resonate so strongly with audiences.
And it's why festivals like Berlinale are so important, right?
Absolutely.
They give us a space to have these conversations, to share these experiences.
To realize that we're not alone in feeling these things.
That's beautifully put.
It's the power of art, isn't it?
Yeah.
To connect us, to make us feel seen.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Berlinale 2025, what do you hope listeners take away from this?
Well, I hope they're intrigued. You know, I hope they're inspired to seek out some of these films.
To explore these themes, these ideas for themselves.
Exactly. And maybe even, you know, to start some conversations of their own.
Because that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Engaging with art, with the world around us.
Absolutely. It's about opening ourselves up to new perspectives, new experiences.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap things up.
Yeah, it's been a great discussion.
It has. Thanks for joining me on this Berlinale adventure.
My pleasure.
To all our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep watching, and most importantly, keep those conversations going.
Happy watching, everyone.
See you at the next deep dive.